Good morning. Welcome to another One Mind meditation. Our teacher for this week is the yellow bear with a red shirt, Winnie the Pooh, specifically from the Tao of Pooh. And today's piece is pretty long, so I'm going to get into it right away. The message from today's piece is, you will learn to trust yourself because you will begin to understand what you really are. You will learn to trust that you will always find your way back to the best version of you. Somebody, good morning. It's awesome seeing you. Hello. So I have quite a few quotes to share from the Tao of Pooh that all lead us to this truth, this knowing that you will learn to trust in who you really are. The first little piece says, there are things about ourselves that we need to get rid of. There are things we need to change. But at the same time, we do not need to be too desperate, too ruthless, too combative. Along the way to usefulness and happiness, many of those things will change themselves, and the others can be worked on as we go. The first thing we need to do is recognize and trust our own inner nature and not lose sight of it. Isn't that beautifully said? First and foremost, learn to recognize your own inner nature. Don't lose sight of your own inner nature, because as you do, many of those things that you need to work on will change themselves. The next little quote from the Tao of Pooh is, do you really want to be happy? You can begin by being appreciative of who you are and what you've got. That's the beginning of being happy. The next little piece says, how can you get very far if you don't know who you are? How can you do what you ought if you don't know what you've got? And if you don't know which to do of all the things in front of you, then what you'll have when you are through is just a mess without a clue of all the best that can come true if you know what and which and who. And the last little quote for today is, the masters of life know the way, for they listen to the voice within them, the voice of wisdom and simplicity, the voice that reasons beyond cleverness and knows beyond knowledge. The masters of life know the way, for they listen. Each of these beautiful little pieces contains a phrase that leads you to you. I'll give you the phrases in each piece again. The first thing we need to do is recognize and trust our own inner nature and not lose sight of it. And then begin by being appreciative of who you are. The next one says, how can you get very far if you don't know who you are? And the last one is, the masters of life know the way, for they listen to the voice within them. Anthony, good morning. It's great seeing you, dude. Hello. There are many spiritual teachings that have at their core the belief that our number one job as a human being is to remember who we are. To quote from Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh writes, your job on earth, therefore, is not to learn, because you already know, but to remember who you are and to remember who everyone else is. Why is this so difficult though? Just to remember who we are. And even when we have profound experiences that remind us, why do we still seem to forget? As a biological system, your human architecture is beautifully designed for survival first and foremost. Like any other animal, your brain makes a big deal about the information that says anything about your ability to survive. And to this end, since you were born, you've been learning from the world around you what you need to know in order to survive. Today's quotes from the Tao of Pooh says, you need to know who you are. And when you were a child, you were listening to all the voices around you in the environment to learn who you are. And perhaps these voices, while you were paying attention to know who you are, these voices were telling you, you are naughty, you are disorganized, you are disrespectful, you are ugly, you are disgusting, stop being stupid, are you performing again? Who do you think you are? I'll give you something to cry about. And if those were the voices that told you who you are, then it's not surprising that we forget the deeper truth of who we are. These old recordings of the past shaped how you see yourself, and they speak loudly within you still, reminding you of what you were told was true about you. So let's keep doing the work to remember who we really are. You are born a pure being of potential, the embodiment of love, proof of abundance manifested in human form. Today's meditation uses the work of Paul Selig, who asks us to claim the following 3 statements in truth. The statements he asks us to claim is, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. And to trust that even in the moments where you might forget, your soul knows. Your soul knows the truth. You will learn to trust yourself. You will learn to trust that you always find your way back to the best version of you. Because in fact, you always do. So if you're ready, you can close your eyes and let's float away together on today's journey, starting with the first few big breaths. Let's take a deep breath in and out. A deep breath in and out. A deep inhale and let it go. Deep breath in and out. One more big breath in. And let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill up your belly with air, also raise yourself up. And once you've reached your full height, then again let all of it go. With every exhale, lead yourself to a deep, profound softening. With every exhale, soften your spine, slump down your shoulders, and and even drop your head. While you continue your full body breathing, let's have this conversation about how the voices around us shape us. How, especially as children, the voices around us teach us who we are. We all start out in life forming our identity from what is called a reflected sense of self. A reflected sense of self means exactly what it sounds like. As we are kids, we're doing things and saying things, and our words and actions bounce off the people around us, come back to us in the form of their reaction to us. And their reaction to us forms the view of who we are, a reflected sense of self. But the humans around us, for the most part, all carry their own wounds. Most of the humans around us still react to the world from their own wounds. We couldn't know this when we were kids. We couldn't know that the reactions of the adults around us really had very little to do with us, and it really was their stuff. Yet, still, it deeply formed our sense of who we are. Now, if you were led to believe, like the lucky few, who were led to believe that who you are is totally okay, totally good, then you learn that you can trust yourself, and eventually you form less a reflected sense of self, but an inner view of self, a strong inner view of self. For most of us, though, we were not that lucky. We were taught that you're not okay. You're not good just as you are. And then we still need to try and find our sense of self from the world around us, someone to tell us we're okay. Today's meditation is a reminder that you really are okay. With all the things you feel inside yourself, and perhaps things you know you need to work on and change, it's true, there might be some changes necessary. But the most important part of this work is to find the real you, the true you underneath all the fears about who you might be. And the more time you spend with the true you, the softer everything else will become. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, helping this body stretch, adjust, and settle down into as much comfort as possible for the rest of our journey. Take a deep breath in. As you release, drop your head all the way forward and roll out your neck muscles forward and to the left, and forward and to the right. Make it big half circles. stretching and loosening your neck muscles. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders forward in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders backwards in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, focus on your spine, lean your upper body over to the left. Lean your upper body over to the right. One more big breath in. And as you release, you can stretch or move or adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. Having softened our bodies into a state of presence, or at least becoming as present as we possibly can be right now, we can now turn our attention inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. With every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel into your body. Feel how softness slips in and settles in every part of your body. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, follow the downwards flow through your body. Feel your shoulders slowly falling. Feel your body slowly softening. And feel how you are slowly slipping deeper into you. One more big breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself melting. Feel your whole body dissolving. Feel how you are slipping into a deeper level of surrender with every slow exhale. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to turn inwards and follow this journey. As you breathe in, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs. And as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. Hold your breath. But hold it only for as long as it feels easy, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, today's meditation, the message of today's meditation is the real you, not the parts of you that the world told you you're supposed to be. The real you is immovable. It's always there. And you can learn to trust that even after you've felt the most disappointed in you, the most disappointed in the world, the most angry and upset, the most hopeless and lost, that the real you is still there and always will be. The real you is always welcoming of you. Take your next big breath. Today we are using the work of Paul Selig, whose work I love so much. And at the core of his work is a teaching in which he asks us to claim these three following statements. The claim is, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. And a part of this teaching is how easily we do forget. But to get to a place where we start trusting that our soul knows, the real you has never forgotten who you really are. So we'll claim these 3 statements in truth, and we'll ask our soul also to remind us. Today's meditation is called Finding Inner Wisdom, because we can learn to listen, and we'll hear that voice more clearly. So we'll start with the first statement. I know who I am. For the moment, put no more meaning into this than just saying the words. I know who I am. And even if perhaps sometimes you're not so sure, while you say these words, can you trust that your soul knows? And the truth is, if you trust that your soul knows, that's enough. You don't have to know exactly what it means, but if you trust that there's a part of you that really knows who you are and loves you for it, then perhaps it becomes easier to put everything else down. So as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, say this to yourself a few times. I know who I am. And feel the trust that you have in your deeper self. Take your next big breath. And now tell your soul, I'm ready to listen. Open yourself to listening as much as you can. Can you be not desperate for hearing an answer? But can you ask your soul a question and trust that your soul knows, so you will hear it when you are ready? Whether it's now or later. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask your soul this question, and then just soften, relax, and listen. The question is, hey soul, can you tell me, can you describe to me, who is it that I am? Take your next big breath and listen. Let's continue the conversation. The next claim that Paul Selig's work asks us to claim as truth is, I know what I am. This might sound a bit confusing, isn't it? The same as who I am, what I am, and there's a difference. Being clear about the difference is not important. But can you claim these words in truth? I know what I am, and most important, can you feel a deep sense of trust that your soul knows, even if sometimes you feel like you're not so sure? So as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, claim these words and feel how your soul supports these words. I know what I am. Take your next big breath. And let's turn those words into a question and ask our soul for a conversation. Can you ask your soul this question and also at the same time let the question go? Can you soften? Can you relax deeply into the being that you are? Trusting that your soul knows the answer and will continue to have a conversation with you about the answer. So as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, the question is, hey soul, what is it that I am? I'd love you to have a conversation with me about this. What is it that I am? Now take your next big breath and listen. When we ask, and especially when we continue to ask, then over time the conversations that are being had with us becomes very clear. It's okay if there's no clear conversation right now, but I promise, and this has been promised to us forever, if you ask and continue to ask, you will be given answers. The last statement, the last truth that Paul Selig's work asks us to claim is, I know how I serve. This one might be the most confusing of all. But can you simply trust that your soul knows? If you say the words, I know how I serve, can you trust there's a part of you that deeply understands that yes? As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, repeat that, claim that in truth. Take your next big breath. And one more time, let's turn it into a question. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask your soul to have this conversation with you. Ask, soul, how is it that I serve? Can you keep reminding me? And take your next big breath and listen. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, slipping out of the breath-holding space and into the next. Actually, just one more big breath. Take a deep breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There is no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back or even lie all the way back down and feel yourself just floating. I'll read to you one more time just a few of the thoughts from the Tao of Pooh and perhaps from conversations with God as well. There are things about ourselves that we do need to get rid of. There are things that we do need to change. But at the same time, and this is the more important part, at the same time, we do not need to be too desperate, too ruthless, too combative with ourselves. Along the way to usefulness and happiness, many of those things will change themselves, and the others can be worked on as we go. The first thing, the most important thing to do, is to recognize and trust our own inner nature and not lose sight of it. Because the truth is, the only thing we really need to do is to become more of our own inner nature. And as we become more of our own inner nature, all of the other things will become softer. From the Tao of Pooh, the masters of life know the way, for they listen to the voice within them, the voice of wisdom and simplicity, the voice that reasons beyond cleverness, and knows beyond knowledge. And then from conversations with God, your job on earth, therefore, is not to learn, because you already know. But your job is to remember who you are, and to remember who everyone else is. I want you to remind yourself for a moment of some of the worst inner experiences you've had, some of the worst inner storms you've been through, some of the biggest disappointments you've had in yourself. And to remind yourself that after each of those, after any of those, after all of them, you came back to moments where you could look into your own eyes and even for a moment realize you've been through a lot and you really still are good. There are moments when you look into your own eyes and realize there's a really good human being there. Someone who just tries really hard. You will learn to trust that you will always find your way back to the best version of you. Best version doesn't mean perfect. It means your deeper being, the part of you that is real. You will always find your way back to this version of you. Because no matter what has happened in the past, you have always found your way back to this. So now it's just a matter of trusting. Trusting that no matter how bad anything could go, you will always find your way back home. Because you always do. And that trust in and of itself makes the next storm less scary. We have the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you, and I invite you to say yours. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning, getting to know who I really am. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning, getting to know what I really am. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning, getting to know how I serve. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning to trust in the truth of who I really am. And trusting deeply that no matter what happens, I always find my way back to who I really am. One more big breath in. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Sunmari. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Charlene. Marsha, very good morning to you. It's great seeing you. Hello. We all serve. Sometimes we're wondering, what's my purpose? How am I supposed to serve? We all serve by being exactly who we are. Lots of love to you all. Have a very beautiful day. Ciao, ciao.